Hi everybody, welcome back to Aunt Patty's basement. Today we're gonna make homemade yogurt. Yeah, simple, straightforward. I even negotiated with myself about doing this, but I took some of my homemade yogurt to Meat Stock and let some of the staff taste it, and they told me that it was among the best yogurt they ever had. And I, of course, make my yogurt way more high fat than you can generally find in store-bought yogurt. And when you're making your own yogurt, you know for sure what is in it. Okay, that's important sometimes. So, I want to also say that I don't generally recommend that people make yogurt at home unless they have an instant pot or a yogurt maker or some other uh, instrument, or what should I say, appliance that is designed for making yogurt. And the reason why is because making yogurt in the ancestral way is much more of an art than a science. You have to understand situations about your own home and about the temperature variances, and you have to understand what's going on microbially in your house and all sorts of things that can cause, at least at the beginning, a very, very high rate of failures. And while I'm not so worried about the people who watch me making themselves sick by eating by eating rotten milk, basically, I'm not really worried about that. What I really don't want to happen is I don't want you guys to end up wasting your resources by spoiling multiple batches of milk trying to do it the old-fashioned way. Most people in the days gone by who made yogurt were the old grandmas who had been making it for years and who'd been trained by other old grannies who'd been making it for years. And I just have never done it that way, and so I don't feel qualified to teach you. So we're going to be making it in my Instant Pot today. If you want to learn to make yogurt at home, I highly suggest you get yourself an Instant Pot or a yogurt maker. You can get a yogurt maker for under $100 on Amazon. And if you get one and you eat a lot of yogurt and you want high fat yogurt, your yogurt maker will pay for itself within a year if you just buy a mid-range one. So please, if you want to do this, get yourself an Instant Pot or a yogurt maker. Don't try to do it the other way unless you're willing to go through a lot of spoiled milk to nail it down real good. Okay, so let's get started. So here we have our basically main ingredients and our hardware. Right here, we see I'm making mine in my Instant Pot, and I'll show you more about that in a minute. We'll need a whisk, and we'll need a thermometer. Okay? Now we're going to start with a quart of whole milk, a pint of heavy whipping cream, and a quarter of a cup of dry milk. This is non-fat dry milk just because that's what I happen to have, but you can use whole milk powder if you want to. And you don't even really need to have this. I just find that I like the texture of the yogurt better when I up the protein solids a little bit, which is why I use non-fat for that, because it's mostly protein. There is a little bit of extra lactose in it, but not enough to make it a problem for me. So we are going to start. We have our Instant Pot, nice and fresh and clean. Make sure when you're using your Instant Pot that you take out and remove this plastic gasket after every use, because lots of stuff can get stuck under there. And quart of whole milk. This will work with any kind of milk you want to use. I find that it's not really, unless you really want whatever the benefits that you would find with raw milk in your yogurt, it's really not going to make much difference for using pasteurized milk, which is a whole lot cheaper, because you're going to have to do a kill step by boiling the milk anyway, or else you could have significant failure even if you don't do anything wrong, just because of the presence of whatever kind of microbes there might be in the raw milk. There could be plenty of microbes that would wreck your yogurt, but wouldn't bother you at all upon drinking it. So just go ahead and save yourself a little bit of money and make your yogurt from pasteurized milk. Okay, now a pint of heavy cream. So this is a 2-to-1 ratio of milk to cream. Alrighty, so that gives us 3/4 or 3 pints total, rather, of fluid dairy and 1/4 of a cup of dried milk powder. Like I said, that this is entirely optional. And you want to whisk this around for a little bit until it's at least mostly dissolved, because if it's not, when you do the boiling step, it often just sticks to the bottom of the Instant Pot and makes an unpleasant layer that's difficult to clean out. So give yourself about 15 to 30 seconds to whisk in the powdered milk. Or you can just skip it. Either way. Now, that's all we have to do for now. Now we're going to set it to seal the vent, which if you're using a yogurt maker, you will probably need to do the boiling step on the stove. But you'll have instructions with your yogurt maker, which will undoubtedly be very good, and you can follow those. But for your Instant Pot should also come with instructions. And it just so happens that mine comes with a yogurt button. And we're going to press the yogurt button once, and it goes to 8 hours. We press it again, and it says, you'll see it says boil. So we're just going to leave it like that. And the milk in here is going to come to a boil. There it goes. It's going to start up now. And it's going to come to a boil, and then it's going to turn itself off. At which point, we're going to let it cool down to about 110 to 115 degrees before we put our starter in. So I'll be back with you very shortly after we get to that point. Okay, friends, we are back. You can see this says end. I guess it took about a half an hour to get maybe 20 minutes to get all the way up to the boiling point. And at this point, the milk is going to be very hot. So we have to cool it down in order to make it safe for our starter. So I'm going to take the lid off and give it a stir. And just so it will cool off a little bit faster, I'm going to take it out of the Instant Pot so that it can cool off better. See, we cannot put the starter in when it is too hot, or it will just kill the starter, and then you will not have yogurt at the end of your fermentation time. You will have a pot full of spoiled milk, and that has happened to me before, so I don't want it to happen to you. Now, while that is working, we're going to talk about starter. Now, there's any number of different kinds of starters that you can use. You can use starters that you have got off the internet. They're usually very reliable. You can buy them at health food stores. There's lots of places you can get them, and they're absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with them. You can even get like ancestral styles of starters. You can get kefir starters, all different kinds of things, and they are all fine. You can use any of them. What I find is easy is two things. One is just get yourself a container of plain yogurt. It doesn't need to be Greek. It can be plain yogurt. Just make sure that on the ingredients, come on, focus. There we are. I got it to focus. See right here on the ingredients, cultured, pasteurized, grade A, non-fat milk.
That's what you want, milk and cultures. And it says down here contains live and active cultures, bifidobacterium, lactobacillus, lactobulgaricus, lactobacillus casei, and whatever that is, thermophilus. So that's what you want. Live and active cultures and nothing but cultures and milk, okay? That you can use that for starter.
The other things you can use for starter are, as I said, purchased starter, or you can use a whey that you have saved from another batch. I am going to strain that yogurt that I'm about to make, and make Greek yogurt out of it. And you will get a pretty good amount of whey off of it. How much you get depends on how long you strain it for. But for this amount of yogurt we're making, after about 24 hours, you're probably going to have a good between 1 and 2 cups of whey. And you can portion that out into about quarter cup portions and just put them in Ziploc bags and stick them in your freezer. And they will stay good for up to a year. So you can use that. The important thing to understand about reusing whey is that if you reuse whey, you can use the reused whey for about 3 or 4 successive batches before the yogurt starts to change flavor and texture. In other words, you can use saved whey from one batch to make the next batch. And then you can use saved whey from that batch to make a third batch. And then you can usually use the saved whey from the third batch to make a fourth batch. But once you get that far down the road, you may start to notice changes in the flavor and texture of your yogurt. Now, if you like it, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. But at that point, if the yogurt starts to take a turn that you don't prefer, go on back to using a fresh cup of yogurt purchased from the store or some purchased starter for your yogurt. So while we're waiting for the milk to cool, let me show you my beautiful little Napa Valley mug. And the reason I'm so excited about this is because this used to be my home. I used to live in a city called Vallejo, which was right at the mouth of the Napa Valley, right where the Napa River converged with the San Francisco Bay. And this, my little California quail, my little grapevines, says Napa Valley, where life is a Cabernet. And the reason why I was so entertained by this and wanted to show it to you is because I actually found this here in Tennessee in a thrift store. Go figure. Anyway, reminds me of home. So I had to buy it. And it was only $2. So now we're going to put about 3 tablespoons of yogurt in here. And we're going to mix that up in a minute. And right now we're going to take the temperature of our milk and see where it's at. We need it to be between 105 and 115 degrees. And right now we are still about 130. See, well, it's gone down, but hang on. There, about 130. So that is going to need to sit for a little while longer. Now you can just sit and wait and let it cool in the room air. That usually takes an hour, maybe 2. You can let it sit and cool inside the Instant Pot. That's going to take a little longer, probably 3 or 4 hours. Or if you really want to get to getting, you can take the pot liner out and you can set it in the sink filled with cold water and just stir it for a while, for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And that will lower the temperature to the appropriate level. But like I said, do not rush this step. If you put your starter in when it's too hot, you're just going to ruin your yogurt. So don't do it. Be patient. Get yourself a thermometer and do it right. Okay, the milk's been cooling.
And at this point, we're going to see what the temperature is. And it is just a hair over 100 degrees, which is perfect. Yay. So now we're going to mix up our starter. I've got about 3 tablespoons of plain Greek yogurt in here. Doesn't matter if it's non-fat or whole milk or whatever. It just matters that it's only milk and cultures and live cultures, which we read on the label before. So I'm going to dip up a little bit of milk in here and just use it to whisk up my yogurt and get it all nice and blended in. You can see it. It just looks like milk, thick milk in there. And I just whisk it up with a little bit of milk so that it disperses well. Now we're going to put that in. Whisk it in. And we're also going to clean off the edge of the Instant Pot so that the seal gets good. If you look at yogurt making tutorials on the internet, you will they will usually tell you to ferment your yogurt for about 8 hours. Ha ha ha, that makes me laugh. I do mine for 36. You do it as long as you like it, but I just love the taste and texture of it when it's got the long ferment. But it will make yogurt in as little as about 8 hours. So we're back here to where it says off. We're back at starting point. We're going to press the yogurt button right here. And it says boil again. We're going to press it again. And it's gone to, oh, it went to 36 hours by itself because it remembered the last time. But usually on an Instant Pot, you'll have minus. Once you get the time set, you'll have a plus button and a minus button. And it'll change the time in half-hour increments. And there we go. There's my 36 hours. And this Instant Pot, you don't need to press a start button. Some of them have a start button and some of them will just start by themselves. There it goes. And now all we have to do is wait. Hi, everybody. We're back. And our yogurt has finished fermenting. And now we're going to unpack it and start straining it and turn it into Greek yogurt. Of course, you could eat it just as it comes out of the pot, but I like mine nice and thick and strained. So I'm going to show you how I rig that up. So here, friends, is what I have set up for my draining rig. Just a plastic colander. You can use a metal one if you want to, but this just happens to be what I have that fits with this bowl. Set over a deeper bowl. You don't want the bottom touching because you don't want the bottom of the yogurt to sit in the whey. And I have here a stack of coffee filters, paper coffee filters, and I've dampened them and squeezed them out. Okay, and you'll see why they've been dampened in just a minute. Part of the reason they're dampened is because they lose their pleats and you can shape them real easy. And when they're damp, they'll lay where you put them. So I'm going to put one down here, right in the middle. And it should be damp enough to just kind of stick down to the bottom. They're also damp enough to stick to my fingers, though, unfortunately. And then I'm just going to line around the sides. If you have some kind of blotting paper that you feel is food safe, that's a bigger piece, you can definitely use that. But coffee filters are the most easily available food safe alternative that I've been able to find. You could use cheesecloth, but you would have to use a pretty, you'd have to use several thicknesses of it. So you'd need a pretty big piece. And it's significantly more expensive than coffee filters. And it's not really reusable. Once you use it, you really can't wash it out and reuse it. So I just find coffee filters they're easy, they're cheap, they're food safe, and they're available everywhere. And it doesn't matter whether you use bleached ones or non-bleached ones. These happen to be bleached ones just because that's what I had. So now, here is our yogurt machine. Over here, I would turn it around. It says off now because our yogurt is done. And this yogurt has been fermenting for 36 hours, a day and a half. You can ferment it for longer than that, but when you ferment it for longer than that, often what happens is some of the strains of yogurt become kind of back off, and other strains kind of become more dominant, and that can make the yogurt taste not like you expect it to taste. Look at there, friend. Can you see that yogurt? I know the light is not good. Hang on a second. Let me move the light a little bit. Okay, I've repositioned the camera some. That should make it easier to see. And there is the yogurt. Look how beautiful that is. Nice, beautiful. See how firm it is? And it's going to get even firmer because we're going to strain it. So we're just going to scoop it into our rig here. This part won't take very long. I mean, this just the scooping. And then we're going to let it sit for 24 hours to let the whey drip out. And one of the things you can do with the whey is you can save it, as I said before, to use it to inoculate your next batch of yogurt. But if you're not going to make another batch within 3 or 4 days to a week, put it in the freezer. Now, as I said, this is ready to eat as it is. You can eat it just like it is right out of the container. You might want to let it chill a little bit first and get nice and cold. But you don't have to. You can eat it warm. Now, try not to put your fingers in it at this stage. You always want to try and keep your fingers out of it, because even if your hands are washed, you don't know what's on them. So you can see, as we put it, it's not really dripping much. Interesting. Usually it starts dripping pretty quick. Anyway, so just to protect it, just to protect the yogurt, I like to put another layer of wet coffee filter on top, just in case anything in the refrigerator falls on it. It's not going to get your yogurt dirty. Probably wouldn't spoil it. Not much in your refrigerator that would spoil the yogurt just from contacting it. But I mean, you've gone through all this work to make this delicious yogurt. You wouldn't want to waste any of it by having something tip over into it. So this rig is going to go in the refrigerator, and it's going to be there for about 24 hours. But you can leave it in the refrigerator for as long as you want. You can leave it in the refrigerator for up to 3 days like this. And of course, the more it drains, the thicker it gets. But here we go, off to the fridge. Say night-night, yogurt. We're back, precious friends.
and we're going to go look at our strained yogurt. I said I was going to let it go for about 24 hours, which is sufficient, but I got caught up with some stuff and it ended up straining for about 36 hours, which is just fine because you can strain it for as long as you want to. Okay, the longer you strain it, the thicker it'll get. So we're going to go and check it out and decant it into a storage container. Okay, friends, here we have our draining rig that we had set up in the refrigerator, and this is a lot firmer. We're going to peel the top layer off. There's another reason why I like to use coffee filters, because they come off so easy. You can see this. It's almost the texture of softened cream cheese. This is very, very thick. Now here we have a 1 pint container with a tight fitting lid. This is just a reused deli container, nice and clean. And here we have another 1 pint container that I'm going to use to put my whey into. Because like I said, I like to save my whey. So we're going to lift this up. And because the strainer is appropriately sized to the bowl, the strainer wasn't sitting in the bottom of the bowl and resting in the whey. So the bottom is not drippy. And so you can see this is all the liquid that came out of our yogurt, and we're going to see how much it is. This is a pint container. So that's about 1.5 cups of whey. Now you won't need all of this whey if you are going to reuse it to make another batch of yogurt. You'll only need about 1/2 cup of it or so. And what I like to do sometimes is to portion it out into freezer style Ziploc bags and then put them in the freezer and then thaw them out just before I'm about to stir them into the next batch of yogurt. So there we go. Here's our starter for our next batch. And now all we have to do is we might not have enough containerage. When you pack the yogurt, like when the yogurt's like this and you're packing it into containers, you really have to push the yogurt down because it won't self-level. It's very, very thick. I forgot to bring another bowl. But this is very difficult to scoop out of the draining rig. So usually what I do, and I forgot to bring another dish down with me, is I get a plate and put it down on top like this, and then just flip the whole thing over. There we go. And now we can just peel off the filter paper. And if any sticks to it, it comes off really easily. But if you just peel it off kind of slowly, it usually just lets go. Real easy. There we go. Nice and clean. Oh, one more. There we go. Now all that's left and this is thicker than any Greek yogurt you will ever find in a grocery store. Guaranteed. The only time you might find yogurt that's as thick as this is if they have put some gelatin or carrageenan or some other kind of thickener in it. Yeah, this is more than a pint. So I'm gonna have to go get another container. There is a pint of the best yogurt you will ever eat. I guarantee. I gotta go get another pint bucket. Okay, I got my little reused, recycled, upcycled pint bucket, deli container. And so, like I said, when you load it, press the yogurt down into the bottom, into the corners, because otherwise, it won't flow down there by itself. It'll just leave a big air pocket. So load carefully. Another thing you might notice with strained yogurt, home strained yogurt, is some of the yogurt will be very, very thick, and some of it will be a little bit less thick. And that's natural for different patches in the yogurt to be thicker than others. And if you need it to be uniform, all you have to do is stir it. Now at this point, because it's dependent on the microbes to help keep it good, this is very long lived in the refrigerator. It'll last a couple of months, right? But part of the reason it lasts so long is because of the active cultures in it. The active cultures that are in it are kind of protecting it from any other kind of bacteria that aren't so hot. So avoid putting used utensils or your fingers in it. Especially avoid dipping your spoon in it, putting your spoon in your mouth, and then dipping it out again. Ordinarily, if you're the only one who's eating it, that's not going to be a big deal for, making somebody else sick. But it might make your yogurt spoil faster, and you might end up wasting some and not being able to eat it. And that would just be tragic. So there we go. So we got 2 pints of delicious, super thick and creamy, high-fat homemade yogurt for about a total of about an hour's worth of work. Yeah, there was a lot of waiting in between, but that was all downtime. I just had the Instant Pot set up in a corner to where it was out of my way. And then once the yogurt was done and it was in the drain rig, again, it was in the refrigerator, out of the way, not bothering anybody. So it was about an hour of active work. 2 pints of a quart of the richest, creamiest, most delicious yogurt that you will ever have for about half the price of basically an inferior quality yogurt from the store. Okay? And here is our yogurt. That's not going anywhere. See how thick it is? Look, watch. That is how thick that is. It's, as I said, it's almost the consistency of cream cheese. And if you've never liked plain yogurt, I would encourage you to try this plain at some point. You still may not like it better than you might like it with some sort of topping or flavoring on it. But my guess is if you don't like commercially produced plain uh, Greek yogurt, you may like this. If you like cream cheese, it's much more like cream cheese than it is yogurt. It does have a tanginess, but it doesn't have that puckery sourness, or sometimes commercially made yogurt can have a kind of a sour milk sort of taste to it. And that's one reason why they sweeten it and put so many flavorings in it, because everybody's supposed to eat non-fat yogurt, you know. And it's the non-fat, it's the lack of fat that makes it taste so sour and uh, gamey, the sour milky sort of flavor. This is definitely has a tang, but it does not have a sour milk flavor. It's really so rich and creamy. It's, again, it's high fat. So if you do dairy and you're on a high fat diet like I am, this, you will never have to buy yogurt again. Mm. It really isn't that much work. It's really not difficult. Get yourself a yogurt maker or an instant pot. And if you love yogurt, just make your own. There's really no reason not to. Anyway, that's it. I hope you try it. Let me know how it works, and I'm going to catch you again very soon with an update and show you some different things that we can do with that delicious yogurt. Until then, I bid you peace, love, and meat. This is the Carnivore Hippie. I'll talk to you later.